Trustees, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just make sure we're
Is there anything else we need to do to just record the beginning of the meeting, Ronnie, or are we good to go?
Now, the purpose of the meeting is mandated by the New York State law that the village administrator or clerk present the tentative budget to the Board of Trustees prior to the first public comment budget session to be held on April 4th. So we're here to present the budget to you as trustees for to receive your input and your comments.
Okay. So you have before you the line-by-line budget. We've also put together some charts as we've done in the past just to help break it down. Due to our email transition from the old system to Office 365. Is it 360 or 365? 365. Sorry, my company has a program. It's called Hawthorne 360. So confusing my numbers.
Once a circle, once a year.
Yeah. So I sent out an email ahead of time to the board with some highlights, but I guess some of those emails didn't go through. So I'm just going to give a brief overview, and then Randall, if you want to provide any further comments too, and Suzanne and Ronnie. I'll just say, first off, thank you to Suzanne, Ronnie, Rich, Peter, the whole staff who put a lot of time and effort into putting this together, in particular Suzanne. As always, it is quite the task to kind of run through the numbers and get everything together, and also do it without a county tax roll to, come up with some final numbers. So we'll get that on Friday, April 1st.
Hopefully, that is what they're telling me. We'll have it by April 1st.
Yeah.
What
But it
time
has
on April
been-
1st?
It has been late in the past,
It has.
and there has been errors. So we got to
Yes,
get it,
so-
we got to look at it, and then.
And then we have to import it and get it into the system. But
And we might have to change, and numbers will change on the budget
yes,
accordingly.
they
So,
can.
Yeah.
First thing, just looking at this chart, and that was a mistake on my budget balance, it's the 22-23 year, not the 2021 year.
Correct. Okay. Thank
So I
you.
just wanna
Good
make
call.
sure of that, yeah.
That's what happens when I use the old PowerPoint
Well,
and just,
that's,
don't
listen,
update it.
So just broad kind of strokes as we put this together, right? From a revenue perspective, we are getting federal monies again. What we're also considering is beyond getting those federal monies, when you start looking at what our revenue is driven by, we're not in this budget, we're not predicting as much in permit revenue that we've been getting. Think there could be impacts from inflation, right, and rising interest rates. So, hopefully the construction and building train in the village keeps on running and people make improvements to their homes, but we don't know, right? So we try to be a little conservative on that front this year. On our expense side, we expect inflation and rising oil and gas prices to have some impact on expenses. So as we talk through some of those lines, we tried to consider that impact. The staff, we talked through trying to just be conscious of that as we're navigating the year. So you'll see that we tried to incorporate some of that into the overall budget. So overall, a slight decrease in expenses by making minor cuts to, I think, several lines throughout the budget. Nothing too dramatic. The largest reduction is going to come from reducing our paving projects for the year by $100,000. And if you remember, the first year of COVID, we kind of held back on our paving projects just because, number one, no work could be done. We weren't sure if CHIPS money was going to get cut or not. So that CHIPS money always rolls over. So that allowed us to do a little more last year. So this number gets us back down to $300,000, which is in that 250 to 300 range that we normally do per year, down from 400. We cut back, I explained the CHIPS thing. Also, Roslyn and Port Washington fire districts are driving a lot of the increase you'll see in overall expenses as well, when you look at the percentages and things like that. Slight decrease in revenue as we feel rising interest rates will cause a slowdown in construction real estate activity. And in order to maintain revenues at that level in the budget year over year, we've included a slight tax increase of 1.5%, which is based on, if you look at last year's tax roll, the average tax bill is about $830 in the village. So that would be about $12 per resident in their tax bill, $15 on a $1,000 bill, right, for a percentage and a half. So that's just kind of the broad strokes. Randall, is there anything you want to call out?
No, I think you hit everything we needed to do. You hit up on ARPA, that was the biggest thing. Expenses, no, you pretty much hit them.
Yeah, I mean, from a project perspective, we talked through park paths. Randall, I think, took a walk through there too. I think we can make some more strategic fixes to the existing pathway without having to do all of it to cut down on some of the costs. The initial kind of estimate we got there was like $30,000 to do the entire pathway.
Well, we were thinking it was gonna be that, but the initial quotes came in at $75,000.
75, yeah.
But actually, the one important thing you left out of the budget is, for the first time in a very long time, we are establishing capital reserve accounts.
Talk
Two,
about that kind of.
one is for, I always call it hardware, so that's equipment. One of our, you see one of the slides, I made a slide. We have all of our capital assets. I have it when we purchased it, original cost, life expectancy, and a color coded for estimated replacement date. One of the pickup trucks needs to be replaced, but to do it the right way, it's probably about $75,000 for a new truck with the new plow attachments and all this such. I don't think we have to buy it right away, but it's something I think we should put a reserve fund for. Additionally, we should start saving money long-term to possibly replace the payloader. I mean,
That
right-
should have been replaced 10 years ago.
The payloader?
Yeah, look, it's
It
20.
could have been replaced. I mean,
It says
It says-
2011
right.
estimated replacement.
10 years, but we don't use it as much as a
It's hanging
normal
on.
piece of construction.
Yeah.
We take very good care of
It's
our
hanging on.
equipment. So I'd like to start putting some money away for that, because I'm guessing a payloader now is probably $250,000. It's going to be very expensive. So if we start saving them a little bit every year, I think we can do well. At some point, we should get a skid steer for the village. We could use it in the park a lot, and by utilizing the skid steer, instead of using the payloader, we can extend the life of the payloader significantly, instead of taking the big piece of equipment every time we need it. I'd like to consider looking at brining our streets instead of using salt, if we just like you see on the highways. So we can start saving money. Those are the types of projects we can look at long-term. Now, for projects, because we have now a capital reserve fund for projects, road repaving, Gary's mentioning about doing a walkway, which is a great idea, through the park, Village Hall to the playground equipment. Also replacing the existing walkway in the park itself, that's falling apart. But those types of projects, we might need some money to do some work on Middle Neck Road, because possibly, Gary, we've been talking about doing the walkway. And Middle Neck Road, the village walking path. Middle Neck Road does not have a safe walking spot or biking spot, as Frank can attest to, as a regular biker on that road. So by putting money away every year, I think we can tackle these projects without having big hits to a budget when either a piece of equipment, large piece of equipment goes, or project. I think the last time we did a capital reserve fund was, I think, the street sweep.
Yeah.
That might have been the last time, and that was 2013, so that was done a couple of years before that. So again, start putting money away. I think it'll be good for a rainy day.
And again, want to thank Randall and the staff for leading the effort to get a better handle on our capital projects, right? By creating a database of when, where our equipment is and at, right? We can do better forecasting and planning. And in addition, there will be, right, as we start to get this project to be going, there will be that one pager that like we saw for Municity for each of these projects. So we can see, what the benefits and advantages are to it, any potential cost savings, synergies, things like that.
And upfront costs and like long-term costs.
Yep.
Because like Municity, there's a big upfront cost, but there's cost savings long-term, and you also want to know how much your annual operating costs for these types of things are. And by the way, the capital asset list here, this is just the highlights. It goes another page or two.
Yeah.
Sure.
I just didn't put the small stuff like the
This
chainsaws.
is the big stuff.
This is the stuff that you want to save money for, but the chainsaws and everything else like that. Frank, I made sure the arrow board was on the list. Here's your arrow board.
And then also the road conditions map has been put on the website. So for residents who are watching or watch this, you can go on the website and see the updated map. See the conditions of our roads. I
We
think
have-
we're slowly.
We have the
chipping away at
updated
this.
one. This PowerPoint was done before. It was updated.
This is not updated.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
there's 2022. I only got it this morning from Rich, so.
But Ronnie, you put that on the
The
website, right?
the 2022
It is up
is
on
on
the
there.
website.
And it's on the new PowerPoint that I put together that you'll have for the next board meeting.
So we can run through those streets too.
Should we add a column estimated cost?
No, because I don't have estimated costs yet.
Well, no, I
You
mean,
want to
just-
start researching.
it
Yes.
might be reasonable to just again, so that when.
Yeah.
We don't have, obviously, you have to update it practically every year, but.
Yeah.
But it would be good just to,
But I think it'd be good to
Understand the
this year,
magnitude, yeah.
put in like for the stuff that's getting close to needing it,
Yeah.
put it in and then
That's fair.
put a
because then
notation of the
we,
year.
then
and
we
then-
have a goal to reach for.
Yeah.
Putting all that money away.
Another point on the skid steer too, I think it's gonna, it just helps with the efficiency of the staff too. Those guys are
Yeah,
throwing stuff in the back of a golf cart and using shovels, we talked with Rich about last year we were challenged with finding summer help. So we only had someone for a much shorter period than we normally do. So if we have those challenges again, equipment like this will just help save on the wear and tear of our staff. So I think it's a good investment. I'll stop there. Anything else you want to touch on? That was a good call out.
No, but for the skid steer, since we're on the topic, we're gonna rent one this year, see how well it works. Rent it for a week or however long it's needed. So at least we'll have a good idea if it's type of equipment we want to rent versus purchasing. Like another thing the village would love to have is a hot box to do our own asphalt work, but I don't think we need to have it on the books. It's something we might want to rent. But again, those are the type of things, it's great to have the kind of equipment so you don't have to keep on renting it, but sometimes renting is a lot more efficient than long-term purchasing, so.
And that was, with Outworks now, right, Dejana's being the garbage carter, this was something that came up when we were onboarding them they rent equipment, Outworks rents equipment. So, Rich has their contact information, so does Suzanne and Ronnie. So if something comes up and, we need to rent something, we can talk to them.
Oh, certainly shop at our ends as well.
Yeah,
The contractors do it, why shouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like, you only need it for a couple of weeks, I buy it.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
It's money sitting, collecting dust.
Yeah.
Cost efficient.
Repair and maintenance and stuff.
Any questions right now from the board? Obviously, we're going to talk about this more at the next meeting, but anything as of right now? Just take the information, look through it, ask questions. Let us know if you have anything you're concerned about or just any clarity you need. Obviously, we get the tax roll at the end of the week. Hopefully, we'll update the tax roll numbers and hopefully be able to dial them in a little more accurately.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
All right.
so I'll update this, assuming we get the data on Friday or possibly Monday. I'll update everything before the board meeting and get it in your hands so you can see any of the minor changes, so you're not hit by any surprises.
And this takes into account the federal money that's coming?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
it does. That money comes up in grants received, which is 0.0003.
on page
But in this chart,
but
that's
on the
stated.
budget, right. we can
Yeah.
state it, thank you.
I think on that budget, on the revenue by category, that would be under state aid. It falls under. 908 number.
And just remember that that ARPA money can't be used in the general fund. There's
Yeah, yeah, it
very
has to be- yeah,
specific
it has
items
to
that
be-
we can
right.
purchase, use it for.
We've expanded that list, right?
It tends to get a little more expanded, but yes, you can't use it to retire debt or just
Right,
use it for.
The capital, the project aspect, they.
Correct.
Basically, any
Significant.
government project would be optimal.
We have plenty of projects.
Right.
No, don't worry.
Start over.
So yeah,
I
so
said,
Claire,
Claire's on the train.
No,
Go
I
on.
used to work in these West Coast hours.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
Always like some kind of 5 o'clock hire. Sorry, hi everyone.
Oh,
then there's the 7:30 fire drill because it's there 4:30.
Right, where is this?
Yeah.
Looking in my box.
So Claire, yeah, we were just, I think we were just kind of getting close to wrapping up. You have the line by line budget.
Sorry.
Just
No,
in
don't
time.
worry. The line by line budget as well as the overview. It's also in your email.
Claire, I'll give you a 5-minute overview afterwards. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is the stairs, right, in fact, just one here. So this is on the day, so
so if there's no other questions, we can adjourn the meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
I will second the motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting. You're going to second?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, all in
All
favor?
in favor? Aye.
Any opposed,
Opposed?
Claire?
Sorry about that.
Go.
Okay, so moved.
All right.
Thank you for putting this together.
Oh, yeah.